listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. We've had a lot of fun today. We've been talking about paranormal activity and all kinds of interesting things. If you missed any of today's show, you can go to HoustonRealEstateRadio.com and catch up with the videos because we have really talked about some fun stuff. If you've got a ghost problem, we told you how to fix it. If you think you got a ghost problem, we told you how to hunt them down and find them. Lots of fun and interesting stuff this weekend. And for those of you who can't sell your house, it could be a ghost problem, so you may want to check that out. All right, we're talking this segment. We're getting a little bit more serious now. We're going to talk about Halloween safety. There's a lot of things that go on Halloween, and this year Halloween is on a Friday night, and we want to make sure all the little kiddos out there are safe because Halloween in and of itself is, can be a night when bad things happen to children, mostly car accidents, children getting hit by vehicles in their neighborhoods or while they're out trick-or-treating. So we definitely want to talk about some safety tips and really make sure that you at home know what safety tips to talk to your children about, because that's the main thing, is getting it down to their level so that they're hearing it before they go out trick-or-treating. So we've got Crime Stoppers on the line. Rania Mankarious is joining us on the line. She's calling in from Crime Stoppers. What better organization to talk about the prevention of crime? Welcome to the show. That's what
we're here for. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Crime Stoppers is a nonprofit organization. I know you guys do great work over there. Tell us a little bit about Crime Stoppers.
Oh, I love talking about Crime Stoppers of Houston. Yeah, we are a nonprofit, and we've been serving Houston and Harris County for 33 years. Our mission is to solve and prevent crime and partnerships with law enforcement, media, and the community. And so many people, everyone really knows about us because they hear about us on the news every night, and they're so familiar with our tip line, 713-222-TIPS. Mm-hmm. But people are not as familiar with the prevention arm of Crime Stoppers and what we do on the programming side, the crime prevention education to keep the community safe. We don't want you to be victims of crime. We want to prevent it.
So Rania is the executive director of Crime Stoppers, and it's been a long time since we had Halloween on a Friday night. Do you think that makes it a little bit more dangerous?
Well, it does in a sense, and you mentioned it. Kids go out, and we know that child pedestrians are 4 times more likely to be killed on Halloween than any other evening of the year. Now, the concern with a Friday night is you're dealing with, people just coming home from work and anxious to get back, and you put that in conjunction with parents who are taking their kids out before it gets dark or before, it starts to get just a little bit colder, and it sets up a scenario that's not the best for our kids. But if parents are vigilant and if they are good models of safe pedestrian behaviors, you're accompanying your children, you make sure your children are visible, there are a lot of things parents can do to take control of the situation and make sure their kids are safe.
Well, let's talk about some of those things. About 12% of children 5 and under are permitted to trick-or-treat alone. 5 and under is very young to be trick-or-treating alone.
Listen, it's way too young. And, we talk about this, and you hear people say, when you're going to have a conversation, make sure it's age appropriate. You don't want to scare children.
Right.
Well, I always say, make sure it's circumstance appropriate. So if you're going to let a 5-year-old go trick-or-treating alone, but yet you're afraid to talk to your 5-year-old about stranger danger or what could potentially happen if, a person invited them into their home or what the true risks are. If your child is not old enough for that conversation, then your child is not old enough to be trick-or-treating alone or doing anything alone for that matter where they can't handle the actual consequences. I think that's just way too young, and we want to urge parents not to do that.
Yeah. And the white paint is so critical. White paint, the glow sticks, something to make them visible. And I think that sometimes that's hard because the kids don't want to mess up their costume. They want that cool costume that they picked out. And so they don't want this, flashing light, around their neck, or they don't want to have to carry the flashlight or, because they've already got the bucket and all these other things to carry and the sword and whatever their costume is. And so I think it becomes a lot for them to handle, but it's so important that you make sure people can see them.
I think what we need to do is make the safety of our children a non-negotiable. And I think, you pick. I have 3 little kids. I understand. They want to dress up. They want to, show their artistic sides, how creative they can be, and I'm all for it. Yeah. But what's not negotiable is something that would affect their safety.
Right.
So I need to make sure that they're visible, that their costume, even the costume in and of itself, that it's not setting them up for injury.
To trip or
exactly,
not be able to
or
see where
masks.
they're going.
Yeah, masks that could be so cute and wonderful, but yet they can't see where they're going.
Right.
Swords. You have all these little boys walking around with swords, and that's great, but let's try to transition to soft weapons, where if they try to hit each other with it, they're not poking out somebody's eye.
Right.
Let them express themselves. Let them have a wonderful time, but where we're not negotiating is the safety of our children, and guess what? They'll thank you for it. When they can have a fun night, come back safely, they'll thank you for it.
So Halloween's the deadliest night for pedestrians, and on average, twice as many child pedestrians are killed while walking on Halloween as compared to any other day. That is a really scary statement, isn't it?
It really is. And, part of the reason is, it depends on what city you're in. And Houston is not a super pedestrian city. We tend to be driving everywhere, and that's okay. But
we're not used to having them out all over the streets.
Yeah, we're not.
It's not normal for the neighborhood.
And some of our neighborhoods don't even have sidewalks.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you, as a parent, you have to model safe pedestrian behaviors. You have to make sure that you're not engaging in non-intersection crossings. I mean, there are places in the road designated where you need to be taking your children to cross the street. Be careful, because people are driving. They're busy. There are drunk drivers everywhere you go.
That's
you just got
with
to
it
be
being
careful.
a Friday night. That's what scares me, is the drinking and driving going on. Because some kids stay out and trick or treat till 11:30, 12 at night.
Absolutely.
I mean, they don't go in till you turn out your front porch light, and that's late. And then you have drunk drivers coming home or going through the neighborhood to pick up girlfriends, and that's a little scary.
I was reading a statistic that said 44% of the nation's traffic fatalities during the Halloween weekend occur in a crash involving a drunk driver.
Wow.
That's scary. That's scary. And, when you talk about these kids that are, the teenage years that really enjoy being out and want to be out as late as they can, they're less likely to be taking safety seriously. So they're a group we need to talk to.
We've been talking kind of about little kids and, tell them, teach them about stranger danger and be careful where you're getting the candy from and wear something that makes you visible to cars and all of those types of things. What would you say to teenagers and to parents of teenagers who know their children are going out on Halloween night?
It's the same conversations that I'm hoping you're having with your kids all year, but you really, really need to increase it as your kids get ready for Halloween, which is one, stay together. You go out as a group. You stay as a group. You don't leave anyone behind anywhere. Take well-lit paths. I mean, kids are adventurous. They think that, no harm can ever fall upon them, but we know that that's not true, and we need our kids to know, our teenagers at any age, that they need to stay on main roads and well-lit areas.
Don't take,
and then,
don't cut through. Mm-hmm.
No, don't cut through. And then, if somebody's inviting you into their home, I don't care if it's to check out the latest game, the newest technology. Oh, they have, better things in the back room.
There's a big craze right now for haunted houses. Have you heard about that? Where you're walking through the neighborhood and you get to a house and it's a haunted house. So you walk through that person's house. You don't just get candy. I don't like that. I don't like it.
I don't like haunted houses to begin with. So that's my first problem. I mean, you talk about ghosts in homes. I mean, that's the number one red flag for me.
You invite my boys into your house, they're going to come no matter how many times I tell them not to. They're going to do it. You say haunted house, they're there.
I know. And what I tend to do, too, is when we're out in the schools, we have a safe school program that's just incredible in the city of Houston and in the county. And what we try to do is when we have the opportunity to talk to these kids or talk to their parents, and they'll say, give us advice on what we can say, I'll say, look for real stories, whether they're in Houston or Harris County or in another city or state, but a real story that happened to a similar child that you can show them. Oh, but that's scary. I don't want to scare my child. Well, then, you know what?
Educate them.
It's time to see this not as scaring them, but as educating them. Let them see what can happen.
Give us that Crime Stopper call-in number. So if anybody finds or sees any suspicious activity on Halloween, they can call it in.
713-222-TIPS. That's 713-222-8477.
Okay, and that's a tip line. If you know of any crime, you can always call Crime Stoppers, and they do reward up to $5,000, so that's always exciting to get a reward.
That's
but you want to do the right thing, right? You can go to crimestoppers.org to learn more. They put on a lot of community events as well. So go to crimestoppers.org. We'll be right back here on Houston Real Estate Radio. Thank you, Rania.
you.